Well, okay, so let's just do monkey again just to be absolutely sure, alright? You ready? One,
I like
two,
monkeys.
3, monkey.
Monkey.
Fucking Lunaris!
I don't know, sorry, I was speaking over the monkey! No, monkey!
Okay, let's do it again
Chihuahua.
one last time.
1, 2, 3,
Chihuahua!
Alright, fuck it, we're gonna do with that. Hello everyone, Marky Joe 1990 here with...
Hi, I'm LunarisParadox. I'm that one
And-
weird guy who was there for Fire Emblem poop.
Fuck, sorry. And also...
DoujinShinji, who is also here.
Yeah. Alright, so, welcome to the Marky Joe podcast, which I will, as of today, be naming The Fellas.
Oh, I like it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wait, but what if you got a
Fancy.
girl on?
Well, I call, like, every time I go into my community Discord server, I'm like, what's up, fellas? And I'm just like, alright, I guess that's the thing I call my community now, fellas. Even though you guys technically are not, well, okay, Lunaris, I know that you're a fan of my content. I don't know about DoujinShinji, though. He was sort of his own thing.
I don't
He's
watch
just that one
Fire
weird
Emblem
guy you found on the
YouTubers.
road.
I'm prejudiced against them.
Oh, shit. Well, good. That's something we have in common.
Right.
I watch like no Fire Emblem YouTubers at all, except for like occasionally Mecha when he does a scripted video, and also the Troll Emblem because I'm in it. And I'm a narcissist.
Yeah, Mecha does have some pretty good stuff. I've always liked him. But there are honestly a lot of pretty good Fire Emblem YouTubers out there that, don't really get as much attention as they probably should. Like, I try to watch them all, but, it's only so much time in the day.
Yeah. On that note, that's why we're here. So basically, due to recent events, lots of terrible shit going down. Should we go into detail about it?
I think
mean,
people
it's
already
up to
know.
Okay. Since you guys already know, I'm not going to go into it too much, but basically I wanted to do something that was like positive for the community, and I felt the best way to do that is to use my 15,000 subscriber platform to help prop up other, YouTubers.
The small
people
boys.
that or just content creators, since Lunaris is not a YouTuber, he's a streamer.
Hello.
Yeah.
I feel so out of place.
That's fine. Like, to be honest, I kind of prefer talking to people with smaller followings than me. That sounds so fucked
like
up.
you said,
but
because
I don't know.
I get it, though.
so-
I do.
I feel less intimidated. Also, I feel like it makes me feel good about myself being like, oh yeah, I'm helping this guy. Yay!
Yeah, like, I entirely get it. That's why I've got,
That's
like,
why
a
they're friends with me.
self-promotion channel on my
I'm helping
Discord,
them.
too.
Yeah, dude, speaking of which, like, DoujinShinji, you're a fucking... You make amazing videos, and they're scripted and stuff, and it's like, it's so unfortunate that you only have 4,000 subscribers. I don't fucking get it!
Because
Well,
the
the
YouTube
real
algorithm's out
unfortunate
to get
thing
us.
is I have a movie-length video as my last upload, and it has less than 1,000 views.
Oh my god, dude, you did like a 3-part Mario retrospective, and like it got less views than me announcing a goddamn contest. Like, how stupid is that?
I mean,
how
from-
fucking bullshit is that?
From what I know about the YouTube algorithm, I might be entirely wrong about this, but I swear I remember hearing or reading somewhere that it has a lot to do with, like, how much of the video people watch. So, like, if they only, like, watch, like, a little short bit of it, it won't, like, count as a view, sort
Well,
of.
Right, the algorithm definitely takes that to consideration, but the thing with me is that you also have to upload a bit more frequently than once after 6 months. So I think that was the problem with the movie length video.
I mean, it worked for Proton John.
Oh yeah, Proton John, the motherfucker who uploads a single episode of his Let's Play of Superman 64 every
like
5
4
years.
I know, isn't he
yeah.
still doing that?
Well, at least, he already has like a pre-established gathering following, so I think that really helped him.
Dear God, I think he started that Let's Play when I was in, like, middle school. I'm going to law school.
Damn. Okay, so I want to get into the first subject, our relationship with each other. No, we're not gay, at least as far as I'm concerned.
I thought what we had was special. No.
I'm sorry, Lunaris.
Oh, I'm gonna go cry. Give me a
This
minute.
is goodbye. Okay, but in all seriousness, so I guess I'll start with me. My relationship with LunarisParadox is that he kept shilling his stream in my Discord server, and eventually I was just like, let's check it out.
Why do you put it there and then get surprised when people use it? I don't understand.
The one time that shilling like that paid off.
Yeah.
No regrets.
So I jump into his stream, and I leave a comment or whatever. He was like, "Oh, hey, Marky Joe, I know you. I'm a big fan of yours." And then I'm like, "Oh, my ego." So I watch him, and I notice that he's very passionate, and like it's clear that you enjoy doing commentaries.
Oh,
but
yeah. It's kind of a funny thing because, like, it kind of felt natural to me in the sense that I've always kind of talked to myself in my head when playing video games, so I found really what I do is I just do all that out loud. Results in a lot of awkward moments because it effectively comes without a filter, but it's half the fun, right?
Yeah. So what I eventually saw is that, like, I'm like, this guy, I feel like he has potential, but he has so few followers. I have an idea. I'll make a game in SRPG Studio in the style of, like, you know, my Rage Fest, like a Rage Fest submission, or like just a goofy thing, and it will get a whole bunch of people to watch his videos. So I made a whole game called Legend of Ow.
Oh, I still have that game, actually. Yeah. It's pretty great.
And it's basically Fire Emblem if it was made on the Sega CD, complete with the full motion video cutscenes in it.
Oh, God.
It was very nice. I might have to do a Let's Play that again sometime. I don't know.
Oh, please do, because, God, I've been showing that game to, like, everybody, and they're just like, this is hilarious. So, after I showed him that, after he streamed it, we started to, like, you know, become contacts on Discord. And that's where we are now.
Yeah.
Now. Oh, also, I beat the shit out of him in Smash a couple times.
Oh, okay. See, it's no fair. He actually knows what he's doing. It's like, you can't brag about going to the freaking kindergarten and beating up everyone on the playground, man.
Alright, so, next up is DoujinShinji. Captain fucking DoujinShinji. So, Mecha started to do a video series called Heroes or Hores. And the first episode was, had Deltre and I as, like, the contestants. And then the second video was DoujinShinji and I. And that's sort of how I found out about DoujinShinji. And, like, after the episode, I realized we had a lot in common. Like, we were talking about waifus and shit and other crap. And I was just like, I'm really vibing with this guy. Let's be contacts. Also, I'm going to watch his videos and realize that they're all very, very good.
The other thing that surprised me about DoujinShinji, he's got a lot of variety on his channel.
Yeah, like, okay, so Mecha has encouraged DoujinShinji to go in a Fire Emblem direction with his videos, but I personally like the fact that he doesn't commit to a particular subject matter per video. I actually think, if anything, it might actually make him better off.
Oh, no, I'm totally on board with that.
It makes me less bored when I write about things. I cannot imagine how bored I would be if every video was Fire Emblem.
I think it's also probably better for maintaining an audience anyways, because, like, think about, like, Ninja, for example. I kind of figure, like, yeah, he's huge now, but, like, once Fortnite dies, and honestly, I think it's already kind of starting to, might have been starting to a while ago, like, where does he really go from there? I get the feeling that, like, once he tries to switch games, how many people are actually going to follow him, you know?
Right, that's fair.
Like people are,
there's definitely
like go ahead.
There's an option that you have where you can do a variety of things and people kind of just like you for yourself and don't really care what you talk about, but then there's people who talk about one particular subject and people only care about that one subject, and that might be easier to grow quicker because the YouTube algorithm also prefers when you do multiple videos on similar or the same topic. But yeah, if that topic dies out for whatever reason, then you're kind of fucked.
I think, yeah, like, I kind of feel like Ninja will, firstly, he's not a YouTuber, he's a streamer. I feel like people are going to follow him no matter what because they like his personality, even though all I've heard of him is, like, bad things.
Yeah, also you say that,
that's
but
why they love him,
he
right?
lost a shit ton of followers whenever he went to Mixer.
Oh, yeah, that's right, that was a thing.
Oh man,
Man.
Mixer. I was telling people, if you're a small content creator, don't go to Mixer. If the only way they have to advertise it is to pay a big streamer a bunch of money so he goes to it, then they're not selling it on the service itself. Like, come on.
Yeah. I remember when Hitbox was a thing. Hitbox was a
fuck is
streaming
that?
website. It's similar to Twitch, except it didn't have stream delay, which is why I preferred it. But then Hitbox like stopped being a thing, and I was forced to go over to Twitch, and conveniently they got rid of their stream delay as well. So it just kind of worked out.
Oh, okay.
Well,
Yeah.
maybe that's why they died out. They knew it was coming. I don't know.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's my relationship with these two guys. Also, I edited one of DoujinShinji's videos. It was the Minoria review.
You can tell because he's in it.
Yeah.
Technically.
Oh yeah. I show up as a guest star at one point where I'm like bashing on my keyboards and getting angry. I remember
And
that.
like your family member
And I
hands you a
wanted to
GameCube
be
controller,
like
I think.
DoujinShinji's editor for Yeah, that's right. Like, I'm mashing on the keyboard, and then somebody hands me a controller, and I'm like, oh.
Oh, this changes everything.
Yeah. I tried to be DoujinShinji's, like, editor for more than one video, but I burnt out after that one.
Yeah,
And
which is okay. Thankfully, I found someone who is really, really good. So I'm good on that for now, and hopefully
Yeah.
forever, because looking for another editor is a pain in the butt.
Yeah, I have so much respect for people that edit videos. I tried editing them before, and oh god, it just wasn't worth it, man. I'm like, no, I'm going back to Twitch. I'm going back to Twitch. This ain't fun anymore.
Yeah, I've never really tried, but that's just because I know I'm not interested in it, and it would just be completely mind-numbing for me.
I've, I edited videos, like, basically for most of my entire YouTube existence. And yeah, I hate it too. You guys, you ain't missing out on much. Like, the fact that it only took one video for me to burn out with like editing DoujinShinji's videos should give you an idea of like how much I'm just not suited for the job. I don't know how other people do it.
Yeah, I mean, like, it can literally take you like an hour to get even like 30 seconds of footage. It's kind of nuts, just how much effort actually has to go into these things.
The most amount of effort I put into my own videos is that I try to cut out as much like pointless or dead air in them as much as possible so that it's as concise as possible to watch and, you know, waste as little of your time as possible. I'm generally not a fan of like bigger edits just because they take so fucking long, but, you know, that seems to be the game for YouTube nowadays. You got to be a fancy editor.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. It certainly wasn't like that 10 years ago, but now it kind of demands that you have fancy shit now.
I guess it's just kind of what happens when you've got more and more people all going to the same platform. You got to stand out some way, and well, most people aren't willing to do that sort of editing.
Yeah. It's sort of like, because it's so popular, there's more competition, and so it's harder to get noticed and shit.
Yeah.
Which again goes back to, well, I guess that's why we got this podcast here, right? Yay!
Exactly.
Look at those transitions.
Yeah. On that note, the next subject is what the fuck got you guys into content creation?
I mean, I'll let Shinji go first if he wants to, but if not, then I don't know. Well, what do you want to do, Shinji?
I'll just go ahead and go. So in 2016, I went to an anime convention called Katsucon, and that's where the very last thing at the convention that I did was I watched The Boy and the Beast, which is supposed to be a really good anime movie. I watched it with one of my friends, and she walked out halfway through because she was so fucking bored. I finished it. I didn't think it was that great, and the more I thought about it after I left the convention, I became more and more upset. And I felt so alone in this because everyone else loves the movie so much that I just ended up writing a 30 or 40 page script of why I hate it so much. on a scene-by-scene basis throughout the film, and I just like gave that script to my friends, and they enjoyed it, so I just wanted to make it into a video. And I was looking for an editor because I, again, did not want to edit in my life. So, conveniently, around that time, a YouTuber I was subscribed to called Far-Fetched Reviews put out an ad for freelance editing, so things kind of just lined up pretty perfectly.
Ah, I see. And if I remember right, for a while your editor was Kane, the editor that Arlo has.
Yes, his name was originally Far-Fetched Reviews, but yes, that's Kane.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, Arlo is a big YouTuber who's
He's a
basically
big Muppet man. I love him.
Yeah. Oh man, dude, I'm subscribed to him, but I feel like the quality of his videos have gone down a bit.
I think he might just be getting burnt out, which is fair. I mean, he puts a lot of effort into his stuff, so.
I feel kind of the same way, Marky Joe. Like there was a lot of just pointless ramblings and stuff in a number of his videos, and since I'm like best friends with Kane, I kind of communicated that to him, and apparently Arlo was kind of aware of this, and he was that's just the type of content he was making for a while now. So yeah, it's just a shame that what he was doing just didn't really line up with what we cared about, which I guess happens, but
Yeah, you cut out a little bit. I could you repeat some of that?
Oh
Sorry.
God. The gist was, yeah, Arlo knows that some of the type of content he's making right now is a bit rambly, and maybe he's gotten better in the last few videos. I don't know. I haven't seen it, but yeah, it's just a shame that what we want from him doesn't always really line up with what he's putting out, but that happens.
I mean, I guess that's the curse of the content creator in a nutshell, right? Sometimes what you want to do isn't necessarily what your audience wants.
Sometimes what you do is not even what you want to do. I remember my Fire Emblem Echoes playthrough, the one part that no longer exists. I still have both videos of Echoes on my hard drive, but the one episode I uploaded was received so fucking poorly that I was just like, all right, we're not even gonna bother. Like,
why was it so poorly?
Was it like a playthrough or what?
The reason why it was so bad is because it was a day one LP that, like, number one, I don't feel like I edited the layout very well, and number two, because it was a day one LP, people expect you to give the game the proper respect it deserves, I think.
Yeah, I guess that's fair.
And I was immediately just like, shut the fuck up with your voice acting game, I want to talk.
Oh, but the voice acting was so good, though.
Yeah. I hate when... For Let's Plays, I fucking hate it when the game talks, because then I can't talk, and I like talking.
Oh, yeah, no, I get you there.
Yeah. Holy shit, dude. I even have the thumbnail for that video, and I was selling out super fucking hard. It was, like, semi-ironic, but it showed a picture of, like, Celica in a rather suggestive pose and everything.
Oh
okay, well, now you realize that the comments for this podcast are all gonna be demanding that you release that, right?
Well, now they will, now that you've said that.
Well, no, they were already gonna. Come on, you mentioned Celica in a suggestive pose. That's at least
Give
half
us
the
the
audience of Fire
17-year-old
Emblem
girl's
right there.
boobs, Marky Joe.
Fuck, she's 17?
I think so.
When
Dude, why
has
the
that ever
fuck is
stopped anyone on the internet?
Dude, why the fuck is every fucking Fire Emblem character ever underage? Why are they fighting a war?
I don't... Well,
different
because
age
war
of
bad.
consent laws in Japan, I guess.
Oh my god.
But, hey,
You know,
Titania.
shit like this is why I'm, like, so disillusioned with fucking Fire Emblem, man.
Well, it's fine, alright? Back in those days, that was, like, middle-aged, okay?
Alright,
Don't
but,
give
like,
me that.
here's the thing. Don't give me that bullshit, because Lynn was 15 in the Japanese version of the game, and they decided to make her 18 when they localized the game. They could have done the same for the rest of the games and be like, yep, they're legal.
I mean, hey, you know what? Technically an adult. Never forget. Elise is legal, guys, okay? Never forget.
No, I want nothing to do with Elise. Elise clearly has the personality of a little girl, and that's enough for me to be like, nope, no thanks. Fuck
Entirely fair.
Okay, so basically from the looks of it, DoujinShinji got into content creation in a very similar way I did, where it was just he was just motivated by anger and frustration.
Yes.
As any good content creator is.
I guess I should get into why I got into content creation. It all started back in like August 2007, I think. Holy shit, I'm old.
Yes.
I was playing Mugen, which is a fighting game engine for you to make your own fighting game in. And, I was looking at Mugen videos, and I met this YouTuber named Garyenfeld, who was making these cool videos of Mugen. And, that inspired me to, find more Mugen characters or some shit, and one of them was Aki Hatono, who was my first waifu.
Who?
Fuck, this is so disjointed, but I think it was from watching one of his videos I found out about Aki Hatono. Then I downloaded her, she became my waifu, and then Garyenfeld made a video where he was fighting Aki Hatono and being like, I hate the series that she's from. And so me, the fucking 17-year-old kid that I was like, no, I'm gonna take one of your characters and record myself fighting it with Aki Hatono.
This man needs to die.
to make you suffer. And then I got a bunch of comments of people being like, yeah, fuck Garyenfeld. And those people became my first internet friends.
Oh,
we have such lively and healthy communities.
Yes,
yeah,
very much so.
And then eventually I was just like, well, I mean, people like it when I make videos, so I guess I'll just do that more. And, that snowballed out of control into...
How did that
Rage
escalate
Fest.
to Fire Emblem?
Yeah, it eventually went into Fire Emblem. Though, to be fair, the reason why I got into making Fire Emblem content was because I was trying to get out of my addiction to Mugen. I couldn't stop recording videos for it, I couldn't stop playing it, and it was clear to me that at some point I was becoming kind of toxic to other people, because I was, way too protective of my waifus and shit.
You definitely seemed like it.
Marky
Yeah.
Joe's a simp. Oh, shit. No, I'm kidding.
So, eventually, all the characters that I created, which were my semi-OCs from my comics went back when I was 14, they were all, kind of Yoshi recolors and shit. I deleted all of them because I felt that was the only way for me to truly get rid of my addiction to Mugen, by just completely making it so that all hope I had of completing those characters was gone.
You took
And
him back behind the shed and
Burn
you
it
killed
all.
Dude, it fucking worked. From then on, I barely touched Mugen again, except for the occasional throwback video. And that's how I got into Fire Emblem content creation. I started doing FE hack reviews, being just yeah. And then the first Rage Fest happened, where I posted in an early version of Fire Emblem Universe, being I have a contest. The object of the contest is to troll me as much as possible, and it took off from there.
Good times. Good
Yeah.
times.
So
That's
my
actually
entire
how I
YouTube-
found you as well. So, yeah.
my entire fucking YouTube career is that of anguish and anger.
And
You know what?
Toxic.
I think you spread that to me, too, because basically my community is just my community bullying me 80% of the time. I like to assume that's true of all YouTube and Twitch communities, right?
Well, for the most part, my community is very loving and nice to me, except for the Sword Art Online video I did and the Land of the Lustrous video I did. But that's just because they're fans of those series, not very happy with me.
You maybe can't tell right now, but I'm seething in rage and jealousy. It's just not coming through in my voice.
I feel like my fans are pretty supportive too. Though I've been told that I shouldn't refer to them as fans because that's like weird.
It is kind of weird in my opinion as well. I don't really like calling my viewers fans.
Yeah, I usually call mine my community because, like, I don't know, they're important to me.
Yeah, it took me so long to realize that, and even now I struggle to break the habit of like, oh, hey, fans and shit.
No, like, I get it. It's a ubiquitous term, you know? It's like, it's the one that, like, makes sense, but when you think about it, it feels a little wrong.
Yeah. I think it also, like, puts them on a lower level than you now that I think about it. Because it's like, yeah, it, like, immediately assigns a role of them that's, like, lower than yours because it, like, props yourself up as an idol for them.
Yeah, like, that's kind of what I'm saying. But, like, it's a term that, like, almost makes sense, but it's not one you, like, want to use. It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that's just words in general. Somebody has to make them up.
Again, Marky Joe.
Yeah. Gotta keep that shit in check. Somebody get a pitchfork. I almost said porch fork.
I'm just imagining a porch made of, like, with, like, several forks just sticking up out of it at really inconvenient locations.
I sort of visualized a porch in the shape of a fork. Not sure what that would look like. Maybe just a wooden fork.
I mean, I can sort of see it. You can have, like, stairs coming out from each of the little prongs.
Oh, man. Anyway. So, next subject. Time for transition.
Wait, did Lunaris ever go?
Oh, what got you into content creation?
Oh, God. Well, honestly, like, that's kind of tough to say, because, like, I've got you two here with, like, these really, like, well-thought-out sequence of event stories, and, I mean, mine was admittedly sort of just a thing I started on a whim. I mean, I was looking about, like, later high school, and to be honest, like, I didn't really know where I was going with my life. I mean, I know I wanted to go to law school someday, but it was one of those things where it kind of felt so far off that it's like, it's kind of hard to really imagine, you know? Does that make sense?
Absolutely, yeah.
So I was kind of sitting there, and I was sort of depressed, 'cause, like, I gotta admit, I was never really the most sociable in high school. I wasn't, like, in fights or anything. My high school was actually pretty calm. I can only think of, like, one fight ever happening. I could go sit and talk with anybody I wanted. I just felt isolated, if that makes sense. Like, a lot of them didn't have the same interests or anything like that, so I just didn't really know where to go. So one day I just kind of was like, you know what, I guess I'll just put something on Twitch, see if people happen to like it. I didn't really expect much, but I honestly did, like, find a place where I not only felt welcome, but like I was worth something, I guess, if that makes sense. I realize it's probably silly to say in hindsight, but, like, you know, for a high schooler who's, you know, never really had anything he could call his own in his life, it really does mean a lot.
You know, you said that you felt bad because you didn't really have a story to tell, but then you told this, like, very emotionally charged thing from high school that you just said. That was really nice. So I think that was a fine story.
Alright, well, I'm glad you guys think that. I more meant in, like, you know, you've got, like, this happened, which led to this, which led to this. Mine was just kind of, it really was just sort of, it's a thing I started, and I'm happy it worked out. That's really what it comes down to.
I think that's a lot more wholesome than I was angry, so I made videos.
I was angry.
Look, we've all got to have our intro stories, all right?
How dare you shit talk my waifu?
As a fucking
look, man, I'm a Lucina simp and I'm proud of it. Okay, you're not the only one.
Fuck, man. And to think that she wasn't even my permanent waifu.
No, she's not the one that's been your icon for God knows how long.
Yeah, holy shit. After Ki Hatono, it was Misuzu Cameo from Air.
All these names that I just cannot recognize or spell.
Yeah. I was a fucking hipster even back then. Just like, my waifu's more obscure than yours.
Wait, did you just say Air? Isn't that the anime with, like, the eyes really far apart?
So all anime, basically.
No. I think I know what he's talking about. The girls have such fucking enormous eyes, and they are kind of far apart. It's from the same people who made the anime Canon.
Oh, I know that one. I only vaguely remember it, though.
Well, either way, After Misuzu, it was Raisin, and then Raisin basically stayed my waifu for pretty much, I'd say, like...
Is it the hair?
10 years at this point. Oh, dude. Plenty of my waifus before that had tons of hair to go around, so...
Oh, okay.
I mean, at this point, would people even let you? Like, if you tried the Switch, they go, oh my god, you're cheating on Raisin.
I think people would actually be a little upset at this point.
I mean, at
it's
this
like,
point, yeah.
Yeah, like, because it's something I'm so known for, even though I don't even talk about it much anymore. Like, it's just such a big part of my YouTube persona. So, I think people would be upset. So, even though as I've gotten older, I've become more indifferent to waifuism, I still hold on to, like, that image.
It means something to you. I get it.
Yeah.
I still hate the term waifu.
Dude, I heard that term a long time ago on, like, a forum that I made called Mugen Harmony, I think, or Infinite Harmony. And, like, basically somebody was making fun of me for having Misuzu as a waifu, and they wrote a comment, like, an inspirational image, you know, where it's, like, an image and then, like, text under it, and it's, like, Misuzu cameo, the reason why Marky Joe will never get laid.
Oh my god.
So a demotivational poster is what you're saying.
Pretty much.
Was that accurate?
I mean, I don't want to talk about my sex life, if that's okay.
That's a bit of a blunt question, isn't it? So you literally just went to, so how's your sex life?
Yes.
Oh, hi, Mark. How's your sex life?
Oh, jeez.
Okay, now we can go to the next question.
Now we can go to the next question.
Yeah, so next up is favorite Fire Emblem game and why. I'll give the floor to Doujin, maybe?
Well, I went first last time. Lunaris can go.
I'll go. I mean, honestly, I feel this is a bit of an odd question in my opinion, because one of the things that's tough about the Fire Emblem series is that a lot of the games really are surprisingly different from each other. Like, when you try and think of, like, comparing, like, say, like, Thracia to Awakening, it's like, there's not as much crossover as you might think. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, that's kind of why I don't really know that I even want to pick, like, a favorite Fire Emblem game, because I like a lot of them for entirely different reasons.
Well, let's say you are at gunpoint. Which one would you say?
I regret nothing.
You're already dead. You're already dead. You didn't say anything.
I mean, I feel obligated to say Awakening, because that game does kind of hold, like, a special place in my heart, because it was a game that I got at, like, a bit of a darker time in my life, and I don't know, the message was good for me. It was cheesy as fuck, hope will never die and all that, but you know what? It's a message I needed. Screw you. It was good.
I'm not one of those, like, I've grown up with Fire Emblem since, like, the very first game that was westernized, and I don't have the same, like, disdain for the quote-unquote awakening babies like other veterans do. I never understood why people would even have that attitude towards another person for liking a certain game, and I think it's very elitist and toxic.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been on that page, too. I mean, it wasn't actually my first game. I actually have a whole long story of how I got into Fire Emblem. What happened was, I actually have a memory of when I was, like, really young, and I had a specific memory of watching my cousin play what I now know as a Fire Emblem game, but at the time I had no idea what it was. And I went through a good period of, like, 10 years where I had no freaking idea what that game was. I had no idea why I had a memory of it. So, like, for that entire span of 10 years, every once in a while, it's in the back of my head, I'd be like, what the heck was that game? Like, this is going to bug me for the rest of the day. So I eventually figured out it was Fire Emblem, because one of my buddies, who I've known for a really long time, basically inherited Path of Radiance and Radiant Dawn from his older brother, who was going off to college. So we just kind of brought it over to my house, we played through it together, and, I mean, the rest is history, really.
Wow. Dude, I can totally relate to that feeling of, like, what is that game? What is it?
I know, right? Like, you can't get it out of your head once you think of it. Like, it's there for the rest of the day. There's no escaping it.
Yeah, dude, literally yesterday I was thinking about this game for the regular Nintendo where like you're like some sort of ninja person and you jump into trees and the music's like do 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 and when you die you like fall to the ground and the music is like
God, now I'm gonna be thinking of that all day. Marky Joe,
Yeah.
why?
fuck. But in regards to Awakening, when it finally arrived, I was like, oh, finally a new Fire Emblem game. Like, I wasn't the person who was just like, oh,
Thanks, I hate
Awakening
it.
is the I wasn't like the people who were, oh, this is Fire Emblem selling out. I was just like, thank God, it's been how many years since a new Fire Emblem game? And I loved it so much that I played through it like 8 times,
Oh my God.
and several of those were challenge runs. And now that Fates has come out, I never want to go back to Awakening ever again.
I mean, like, that's fair. That's fair. I would say that in a lot of ways, Awakening does have gameplay that's a little tough to go back to. Especially on Lunatic, because even as, like, the ultimate Awakening fanboy, in my own words, this is probably not actually true. Even I don't want to play on Lunatic. Like, come on, man. It literally just turns into Frederick Emblem. Frederick does everything the game for, like, the first 10 chapters. And you try desperately to get Robin leveled up enough to actually survive anything.
The other thing that bothers me about people hating on the quote-unquote Awakening babies is that, let's say you're new to Fire Emblem and you are introduced to Fire Emblem 7, and then as you're playing it, you realize you can't skip enemy phase, you can't skip battle animations unless you turn them off.
You have permadeath.
Yeah, there's all these like small quality of life features that don't exist in the older games that exist in the newer ones, and it's like, how do you react to that as a new fan of Fire Emblem?
Oh, my favorite thing is when people will always, like, get really upset about casual mode. It's like, well, excuse me, I don't want to replay the entire chapter when I died to a 2% crit there was literally nothing I could do about. Like,
Absolutely,
come on!
yeah. Which is nice that they have things like Mill's Turn Wheel and Divine Pulse or whatever that kind of make that more manageable at the very least, even if you do permadeath mode.
Yeah, like, I can say straight up, the only reason I was able to get my girlfriend into Fire Emblem was because of mechanics like that. Like, without that, she wouldn't be able to play Fire Emblem on. She would never have gotten into the series.
Yeah. And the other thing is that, like, as veterans, I think we have a well, people like me at least, I think some of us have a slightly rose-tinted perspective of the older games. Like, if you go to somebody who played Awakening and you grew up with FE7, like, you probably think that FE7's story was better than it actually is, similar to how people who played Awakening for the first time thought its story was better than it actually is. So you show them FE7 and they're looking at it with, like, fresh eyes, and they more clearly see the flaws of the game than you do. And I think people don't recognize things like that. Like, the older games, there are reasons why newer players would not be interested in them. Legitimate ones. And it's not just, oh, I can't fuck this lolly over here or anything. It's...
Ugh.
Yeah, like,
You
a lot of times I'll hear people saying, like, genealogy is a perfect game. I'm like, well, sorry, I'd like to actually use units that walk around on foot. Without having to waste half an hour slowly moving people across the thing. I gotta say straight up, the only reason I was able to get through a playthrough of Genealogy was because of the speed-up feature. Like, on emulator. I would never be able to survive that game on, like, actual hardware.
I couldn't stomach it. I couldn't even make it past the prologue chapter. I was just... I watched the playthrough done by Mage Knight 404. I watched that back in my college days. But I've never been able to play the game myself because I just hate playing it.
No, I totally get it.
Yeah. We never... DoujinShinji, what is your favorite Fire Emblem game and why?
You see, I mean, similar to what Lunaris was going on about, there's no Fire Emblem game that kind of hits all the marks because they all are different and all have their strengths and weaknesses. But I guess Path of Radiance has the least egregious weaknesses, other than being like $200.
I feel like that's a pretty big weakness for a lot of people.
Well, it's also very slow. Like, even if you turn off the battle animations, it takes forever for enemy phase to end.
Oh, well, not nearly as slow as Radiant Dawn.
Oh,
For
yeah.
fuck's sake.
Radiant
Does
Dawn, at least on repeat playthroughs, you can actually like turn off the animation entirely. But even then, like the units still have to walk to places and stuff. It can still take a while.
On a strictly emotional level, I kind of want to say Three Houses, but Path of Radiance, I'm just going to go with that.
Yeah. Fair enough.
You know, speaking
think-
of Three Houses, is it just me, or have people's opinions on the game kind of cooled pretty heavily, actually?
Oh, yeah, now that the game isn't new anymore, now that people have played it like a dozen times over, they start to see that it may not necessarily be as great as they originally thought it was.
Yeah, like for me, the big problem really is I feel like the big problem really is that like half of the game is the exact same for all the routes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, not the exact same. You get different characters and like slight different dialogue, but all of like the major events are pretty much exactly the same. Which like
And even
it
with
makes sense why in universe, but it's still kind of exhausting to go through. Like I could barely get through my third playthrough. I still
Speaking
haven't
of
completed
exhausting,
the church route.
the Academy stuff is really interesting, but even going through one playthrough of that, you get really bored of doing the same Academy stuff over and over, so I can't really imagine how that would go if you were to do all 4 routes.
Oh god, dude, I fucking hate. Like, okay, so I was immediately skeptical of Three Houses from the get-go because I was already disillusioned because of Fire Emblem Fates.
Oh yeah.
Fire Emblem.
Oh god, don't get me started on that game.
Yeah.
I've got some strong opinions on that one.
I was in the same boat as you, Marky Joe, because it didn't really look like Fire Emblem. Just how everything looked in the reveal trailer, it didn't feel right.
Yeah. I was already disillusioned from Fire Emblem Fates, Fire Emblem Heroes, and Fire Emblem Echoes. Like, Echoes was good, but not in the one area where it counted the most. But,
well, what area is
basically, well, gameplay. Like, the map
That's fair.
design is shit.
Fair.
Though, you know, not all the gameplay in Echoes is bad. I feel like the random encounters, oddly enough, are more fun than the actual map design.
that?
but
I
anyway.
can kind of see that.
Yeah. So, I was already disillusioned, and I looked at this game and I was like, this is Persona. This is not Fire Emblem. I don't play... Like, oh, don't get me wrong. Well, I haven't played Persona myself, but I have some interest in the SMT series.
I'm
in
probably going to
particular.
get burned at the stake for saying this, like several times even. Like somebody will find a way to resurrect me and then burn me at the stake again. But I found Persona 5 kind of exhausting, honestly. And I kind of found myself having the same problem with Three Houses.
As someone
Oh.
who is a big fan of Persona 5 and Persona 5 Royal, I can understand that.
Yeah. I've heard that the story is very formulaic, and even looking at bits myself, I'm like, alright, well, it felt like they started to half-ass the villains after a while. Like, Kamoshida is clearly this very, like, well-developed villain that you grow to hate
Oh yeah,
beyond measure.
they make you want to punch that guy.
Yeah, they make you absolutely fucking revile that
They
guy,
earn
which makes
it.
it all the more satisfying when you beat him. But the other guys, it's just like, oh, well, this guy's a fucking cartoon villain and we're playing Scooby-Doo, I guess.
Isn't there another one that they literally just go do it because he was voted on? People voted on this guy. Let's go beat him up.
I don't fucking know, man. All I know is that SMT interests me, but not so much Persona, mainly because I'm fucking 30 years old. I can't be playing a game where one of the main ideas is to, like, date the fucking these way too young girls.
Romancing the 16-year-olds.
All of them
I just
at
I
once,
want nothing
obviously.
with that.
Well, hopefully
I-
when Shin Megami Tensei 5 comes out in the next decade, hopefully, maybe you can play that.
Yeah. All right. I'm gonna get back on track. So.
Oh wait, before we move on though, Marky Joe, if there's
Fuck!
one series you should check out, the Devil Survivor series. Yeah, I think you'd like that one.
Okay, I have SMT 3 Nocturne. I'll play that at some point.
Good fucking luck with that.
Dude, I have a PS2. Like, it looks like it's a hard game, but that's why it appeals to me, because it looks like it'll be a fucking hard game. Anyway, back on track. So with the recent Fire Emblem games, I was immediately skeptical of Three Houses. I was already kind of just like, Fire Emblem isn't what I want anymore. Like, it's not the series that I loved. So when I finally played Three Houses after buying the game and not playing it for so long, I played 2 hours, and immediately I was like, this feels like it has a lot of the same problems Fate does, where you're just like this random dude who turns out to be incredibly special. There's like weird contrivances here and there. For example, when the first boss of the game attacks Edelgard in a cutscene, she pulls out a fucking dagger, and it's like, you had an axe 5 seconds ago. That's much better at protecting yourself.
It ran out of durability. What do you want from her? You're a Fire Emblem player. You should know this.
And then there was shit like Sothis introduces herself, like in a CG cutscene or whatever. It's like, my name is Sothis. And then after that cutscene goes away, it fades back into her being like, my name is Sothis. Yes, that's my name. It's like, what the fuck? Who the fuck thought that this was, like, well directed?
Team B, probably. I should probably explain that. A lot of people probably aren't going to get that.
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, basically, from what I know of the development of Fire Emblem Fates, the development team was actually really split. I know a lot about Fates, which probably explains why I dislike the game in so many ways, but also sort of like it in some. Ask me about it sometime. I'm not going to go into it here because I could go on for like hours. But basically, the development team was split into two groups. Like, there was one group, Team A, that wanted to take the game in a more, like, traditional Fire Emblem direction. Like, from what I know, they wanted to go more back to, like, the Yugdrol, or Jugdrol, however the frick people are pronouncing it these days, series, for, like, really, like, darker tone and stuff. Team B, on the other hand, basically wanted to turn it into a hentai game. So, like, let me put it this way. From what I know, the face petting was one of Team B's tamest ideas.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so,
So how can we get Team B's ideal game?
Well, I'm sure there's plenty on Steam.
But I want it to be Fire Emblem.
To be fair, I think I would have liked Fates better if it went all the way with the hentai direction.
I mean, at least you can get some enjoyment out of that, right?
It's just like, okay, we have face petting in the Japanese version only, and it's like, that's so. If you're gonna go this like waifu creepy fucking route, at least go all the way with it instead of just being like, oh, I get to touch your face. Oh,
poke,
man.
poke. Oh, how romantic.
Yeah, fucking Fates, man. But yeah, so Three Houses. I was immediately just like, this isn't Fire Emblem. I've been disillusioned from the previous games, and the other thing is that I'm worried about where Fire Emblem's going to go after this. I feel like it's going to double down even further on the, like, this is about the characters and building relationships with them rather than strategy. Which, by the way, we're going to throw that shit out the window, just let you do whatever the fuck you want, and throw enemies on the map in such a way that any strategy will work, thus homogenizing all the fucking maps.
I mean, honestly, I do feel like I would disagree to some degree, because, I mean, I'm the one crazy guy who actually really enjoyed non-New Game Plus maddening modes, so I don't know. But,
well,
I found, like, the Gambits in particular, I actually really liked. Like, I know that there's, like, a lot of people that will say, like, only use flyer units, they're objectively the best. Like, I completely disagree on that, because there's only, like, really, on any given non-New Game Plus playthrough, you're only going to get, like, at most 3 good flying battalions. And not having those Gambits actually can handicap you a lot more than you might think.
I mean, I'm still on my first playthrough right now, and I'm already breaking the fuck out of the game.
Well, what difficulty are you on?
I'm on hard, I believe.
Yeah, I will say that hard, it does have a bit of difficulty finding, like, a good sweet spot, I'd say. But, honestly, and to some degree, I think that can come down to just the way Fire Emblem is set up. Where, with a low numbers game, even, like, a few points can be a pretty major difference. It can be hard to get a good right in the middle spot. I will say that maddening does have a lot of stupid stuff like ambush spawns and stuff, though. I mean, nobody likes those. I don't know why they brought those back.
Absolutely not.
My main issue is that it feels like they threw in a lot of mechanics without really considering the implications of said mechanics. For example, they added a new weapon type, the claws or knuckles weapon type, and I swear to God, this is the most broken fucking shit I've ever seen in a Fire
I
Emblem
completely
game.
agree, but that's with a caveat. I completely agree on anything that isn't maddening mode, because in maddening mode, the enemies actually start getting surprisingly beefy. You'll notice that low might, it starts actually causing problems sometimes. Like, there will regularly be times you're going to do, like, 1 damage. Sure, you'll hit 4 times, but, like, it ain't going to do anything anyways. So sometimes you do got to switch over to that axe.
Yeah.
And I also do somewhat like the
true.
idea of encouraging the player phase with the gauntlets.
Yes. I kind of feel like Fire Emblem should go in a more player phase direction. Something that I really liked about Fire Emblem Echoes is that combat arts were introduced. And combat arts, in my opinion, are one of the most important mechanics in the Fire Emblem series now. I think that shit
dude,
is
you're
pivotal.
preaching to the choir on that one.
Yeah, like, I feel like combat arts need to be buffed a little bit, because, like, not being able to double really sucks.
Oh, again,
but
you know what? That's where I disagree. On maddening mode, I was using those combat arts constantly. Because there are often times where the enemies are bulky enough to where you're going to need that effective damage, or you're going to need that extra avoid to get out of the way, or you're going to need all those sorts of those other different effects. They can have wind sweep as well. That one's huge.
To be fair, the enemies in maddening mode are fast enough where you can't double them. So the fact that combat arts themselves can't double is not really relevant in that difficulty.
Well, yeah, I know, fair, but that still means that they've got their use, you know? It's like they've got their place in the Fire Emblem gameplay, I'd say.
I suppose. I kind of wish that some combat arts were allowed to double while others couldn't. Like, it was a very specific thing depending on how strong the combat art was.
Yeah, of course, but like that, my stance on that is, well, I mean, that's something that can be worked on. I would say, like, for the pretty much every time that combat arts are here, granted we only have 2, they were improved. So I see no reason that they couldn't be also worked on again in the next game.
So this might be a little controversial, but I think that combat arts worked better in Echoes.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So my issue with combat arts in Three Houses is that because weapons have so much durability, it basically doesn't matter. Like, you can just spam combat arts all you fucking want and it doesn't matter. Like, you don't really face any repercussions aside from you can't double certain dudes.
That's fair. I can definitely see that being a complaint, but again, I feel like that's another thing that can be, like, you know, retuned without completely changing what combat arts are fundamentally. Like, you can increase the cost and stuff like that. It's something that can be worked out.
Yeah. I definitely think combat arts is, like, probably the best mechanic Fire Emblem has seen in ages. But I'd also like to point out that several other SRPGs have had this mechanic for fucking ages. Like, my friend Skillkill has been telling me about other SRPGs because he doesn't like Fire Emblem, and he's been pointing out all these issues with Fire Emblem that I kind of took for granted. Pair Up, for example, is a mechanic that's existed in SRPGs since, like, the fucking 90s. Fire Emblem is so backwards and behind its time, it's not even fucking funny.
That's just Nintendo games in general, you can say.
Look, man, Mario Odyssey is great.
I don't think that's true of all Nintendo games, though. I feel like Mario games, for example, have been pretty forward-thinking, and the Zelda series...
Well, it depends on the Mario game.
Okay. I'll level with you, DoujinShinji. The new Super Mario Brothers series, definitely not fucking breaking new ground.
That, and you could kind of bring up Paper Mario as well, and also Mario Party,
God, don't it... Oh, dude. Oh,
I mean, I'm
can
halfway
we talk
through
about the last
Origami King
Nintendo
right
Direct
now,
real quick?
and it's fun, but...
All right, you know what? I'm just going to shut the fuck up, because I don't know what I'm talking about. But yeah, like... Fuck.
Am I allowed to just rant about the last Nintendo Direct real quick?
Oh, go ahead.
Okay, because, oh my god, it was so sad. The only 2 things they show is what I can only describe as Sticker Star 3 and some Bakugan game that looks like an early iOS game.
Well,
Like,
that
I feel
was
bad
that
saying
wasn't
that,
a
'cause I-
direct. That was just a live thing where they were just showing off gameplay.
Okay, well, either way, oh, it was so sad, man. It really was. Like, I think they would have been better off just not having that at some point, because I don't think I met a single person that was, like, actually happy with how that went. Like, maybe I'm
Especially
wrong, but, like...
since I don't think anyone could have seen a Bakugan game.
Well, no, I
being
actually disagree with
announced.
that. Because, like, I asked people in my community, and there were actually a fair number of people that were like, oh my god, there's a Bakugan game? Where? Like, there is a demand for it, but when I started describing the things, like, it basically looks like a somehow, like, even less thought put into your moves Pokemon game. Like, the gameplay comes down to running around in circles, collecting little, like, randomly spawned hexagons.
What's Bakugan?
No, well,
It's
sit down,
it's
Matt.
a
Sit down,
child's
Marky Joe.
toy
We're gonna be
game
here
where
for a bit.
balls turn into monsters.
Oh, so it's Pokemon.
Yes, but
Kinda.
they're all circles. That
Wow.
like grow, sort of. They like unfold. There's a community
That
for
sound-
it.
I guess, but it sounds boring as shit. Then again, I'm not into Pokemon anymore either.
Entirely
Neither am
fair.
I.
Yeah.
That's another game
So-
series from Nintendo. I know it's the Pokemon Company and Game Freak, but another series that's way fucking behind.
Oh, yeah. Then again, SMT has been pretty behind, too. Because they haven't really innovated since SMT 3, right?
I mean, the main core mechanics are probably the same, which is fine because they're good mechanics, but at least Persona 5 Royal did a lot of stuff that made it interesting. A little overpowered with the like cutscene all-out fancy attacks, not the all-out attacks, but like the attacks that you can just randomly be given that just destroys everything on screen.
Yeah, wasn't it like the
That's a
Showtime
little
attacks or
overpowered.
something?
Yeah, the Showtime stuff. That's a little overpowered and unneeded, but
Well animated though.
Yeah, holy
You cut
shit,
out
are they
what was
well
that?
animated.
yeah, they were very well animated.
Yeah, I said, yeah, they're well animated. Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of where I am with Fire Emblem. Like, I don't have a lot of
God,
hope
what a
with-
roundabout way to get to this point.
Yeah.
I know, like
Uh,
I feel like that's
now-
kind of a credit to this series if it took you this long, you know?
Well, I was having doubts around Fire Emblem Fates, but
A lot of people were, Marky Joe. That's not just you.
I basically played. I basically bought 3 houses out of obligation. I still have only played like 4 hours of that game. I have like 0 interest in it.
No, I can definitely see that. It does have a slow start. It gets... I know this is what everyone says, but it does get really good, like, after the time skip. I feel like we could say there's a time skip. Like, come on, even the trailers didn't say anything about that. Like, didn't hype
Even
that.
though Edelgard's is like the shortest route and doesn't really have much after the time skip.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which is kind of
What a
funny, because
fucking
wasn't that, like,
bummer.
supposed to be the first one that they actually had planned?
From what I read, it was like the last that they worked on at least.
Yeah. It doesn't surprise me because the Fire Emblem series in general doesn't seem to treat its female characters very good. Like-
her character itself is very well executed, but I guess in the development time, no.
Like, okay. You look at Fire Emblem Sacred Stones. Main character clearly is Erika for the first few chapters, but Erika's behind Ephraim on the box art, and Ephraim gets to do all the interesting stuff
But
story-wise.
we
He
also
gets
have
to take down the
Volbar
God
on the
Empire.
frickin' guide in box art, so I don't know if we can really use that for...
Well, like, let's also look at Gaiden as well, because, like, yeah, for the most part, Alm and Celica are equal until Celica gets captured in the original game, and in the newer game, she willingly goes with fucking what's-his-face, Jeddah, like a complete fucking idiot.
Well, alright, you know what? I'm gonna play devil's advocate here. I'm gonna try and defend Celica. I'm gonna get burned at the stake again, probably, but you know what? I've gotten used to it by this point. I think if they did it if they kind of put more emphasis on it, they could have made it work by playing up the fact that Celica was basically raised in a church her entire life. So she's a very religious person. she's obviously going to be thinking the world can't go on without gods, because, like, they're entirely central to, like, her way of thinking. So she's already figuring, well, Milla's basically dead. The best hope we have is that maybe Jeddah is telling the truth. And at worst, we're right back where we started. At best, maybe he's telling the truth. So there we go. That is my attempt to defend Celica. Take it or leave it as you will. I won't take it personally. I fully acknowledge it was not told very well.
Okay, that is not a good defense of Celica.
I know.
I have a better solution. Make Jeddah a sympathetic, likable character who doesn't look blatantly fucking evil.
Well, I mean, obviously,
You're telling
but
Fire
I mean,
Emblem to make character designs that aren't blatantly evil, and that's impossible.
Look, I'm trying to work with what I got, okay?
Though. They've done it before, though. Like, Camus is a bad guy who's against you, but he's handsome as fuck.
Who?
You know, Camus, from Fire Emblem 1 and Shadow Dragon.
Camus?
Oh, yes,
is what
of
they're
course.
calling him now.
Oh my god, that's right. His name, he's pronounced Camus.
Yes,
Fuck.
Camus. He's the cow
Okay.
now. Moo.
Look, I'm sorry, but he has an S and a U in his name. It sounds like Camus to me. I mean, it looks like Camus to me. Fuck.
You
So,
know what? I can't wait to get burned at the stake again. I like Walhart.
I don't have much against Walhart personally.
Well, that kind of takes the wind out of my sails. So, all right.
I should probably mention what my favorite Fire Emblem game is.
Probably.
Nice.
So, one day I was just like, you know what? I need to have a favorite Fire Emblem game. I need to take a stance. Because every Fire Emblem game always has 2 steps forward and 2 steps back. It's really hard to decide. Fuck it, FE6 is my favorite.
But why?
Okay, so number 1, bear in mind a lot of this is because I'm comparing it to FE7, which, any game will look good when you compare it to FE7. But
oh shit, that's gonna upset some people.
It's going to upset a lot of people.
No, dude, fuck FE7. FE7 is shit.
Oh, God
FE7
damn.
is like so bad. Like, okay, look at Mecha's whole series where he talks about FE7's story, and tell me that it's a good story. And don't accuse me of like piggybacking off his opinion, because I'm piggybacking off of General Horse's opinion from when they made the original topic Quintessence Don't Understand on Serena's Forest, where like they made a whole rant about FE7's plot, and I'm like, this is kind of stupid. And I watched the discussion, and eventually I was like, you know what? I feel like I agree with the people who criticize the game's story more than the people who are defending it, because the people defending it aren't really coming up with good counter arguments.
But Lynn has good thighs.
And the other thing is that every time I've played through FE7, I never understood what the fuck was going on. Like, if you were to ask me what happens in FE7, I wouldn't be able to fucking tell you, even though I feel like the game had so many good, memorable moments, like, Elbert dying and shit. It's like it has all these memorable moments, but it's like, I couldn't tell you what the fuck actually was going on. It was just such a hard-to-follow story. And then you get to the gameplay, which, holy fucking shit, 11 chapters of garbage. Just Lynn's entire mode is completely useless after you've played through it the first time, and it arguably wasn't even useful to begin with. Like, it didn't have much of a purpose aside from introducing Lynn.
So, Marky Joe, when you're found dead, can I have your channel?
No.
Oh.
FE6 handled the tutorial shit way better. It was a single chapter, it told you all the mechanics, and then it moved on with his fucking life. And any other mechanics that were relevant to the game were given to you through, like, little houses that you could visit for hints. Like, the money is important guy. Like, oh yeah, I didn't know money was important. Thank you for telling me that. So, yeah, FE7, 11 chapters of garbage, and even when you get to the main mode, like Elliewood mode and shit, there are still some shitty chapters in it, like Genesis, the fucking chapter where it's a guided chapter where you have to open a bunch of doors or break a bunch of walls, and if you're playing on Hector hard mode, it's completely fucking luck-based. There's Battle Before Dawn, which, holy shit, that's garbage. There's a chapter with Veda or Vida, where basically, in order to win, you just do nothing. And then there's shit like what is it? The desert chapter, where again, all you really need to do for most versions of that chapter is just sit there, and Pent just cleans up entirely by himself. And on Hector hard mode, it's fucking luck based because you can't control what Pent does, and sometimes he'll just pick the wrong foe and get killed. And it's just like, when you get down to it, how many good chapters does FE7 actually have? It has like maybe a little less than 20. Now bear in mind, FE6 does not have a lot of like, it has its share of stinkers as well.
Roy. I know he's our boy, but he's terrible.
So, the big thing with FE6 is that almost all the Gaiden chapters suck, and every chapter after after you defeat Zephiel kind of sucks too. It's mostly just bait and switch horse shit. But here's the thing. Number one, you only have one lord, so you're not lugging around 3, sometimes by requirement and sometimes because you feel obligated to because they're the lords of the game. And again, you don't have to do that, but, you know. Anyway.
Congratulations. I think you just talked me out of ever playing FE7.
Yeah. So, you also have way more deployment slots, so you can deploy a lot more of the characters that you like. You have a lot more freedom on how you can set up your team. Granted, a lot of the characters in the game suck, but you can make them work under certain circumstances. And bear in mind that FE6 was functioning more so under the Kaga philosophy than later games were. So basically the idea is that if you get a character killed, you can replace them and the game's still beatable. Like, that's how the game was designed to be played, in comparison to like Three Houses, where if you let somebody stay dead, that's fucking like the worst thing ever.
I should probably say, just for the record, I am with Marky Joe in regards to FE7. I managed to beat FE6. I've never actually completed FE7. I get bored halfway through.
Yeah, that's where I get fucking bored too. So the other thing is that, like, FE6, this is going to be a super hot take. FE6 has better level design than a lot of other Fire Emblem games, if you discount the Gaiden chapters. But even if you include those, on average, FE6 still has better level design than FE7 and FE8. And I know a lot of people say that, oh, every chapter sees, though. Number one, alternate objectives are overrated. It doesn't matter what the objective of a chapter is if what you're doing in it isn't interesting. If it's a defend mission, that doesn't matter unless the enemy placement and the map design is actually interesting in and of itself, you know?
Yeah, I don't know, I totally, like, there's a reason that everybody talks about, like, Chapter 10 of Conquest, because you've actually got to use your resources for it, you know?
Yeah, and even then, you could argue that chapter could have worked fine as a route mission, if, of course, a lot of the remaining enemies rushed you after a while, but, I mean, Awakening did that, where it had a route mission that was effectively a defense mission, the one where you're defending Emerin.
Yeah, I'd also argue that Chapter 2, man, like, you gotta play defensive on that one.
Yeah, like, you can have a game that has siege missions and still make the level feel like a defense mission or a route mission. Like, at the end of the day, the objective doesn't really matter so much as, like, the actual meat of the chapter, the enemy placement, and the geography of the map. And FE6, while it only has one objective for every map, the enemy placement's more interesting, the environments are more varied, the level design is a lot, in a lot of areas, more carefully thought out. And I know the meme with Marky Joe over here is, oh, these maps should be cut by 3. And yes, FE6 does have big maps. But the difference between FE6 and FE8 is that FE6's maps are dense. So all that extra big space is justified because there's shit in it. Also, I just feel like the game it just feels more grandiose. Like, I actually feel like I'm going on a grand journey across the world to defeat Zephiel and
yeah,
shit.
That's fair. FE7 did always strike me as Eliwood's quest to go beat up some dudes, which, like, fair enough.
In terms of story, I feel like FE7 leaves more impact even though the story is worse. FE6 has a competently made story. Like, it has a competent plot. But I just don't find Roy an interesting protagonist because he's just kind of... He's, like, always right, and he doesn't really go through any growth through the story either.
So good
Like,
premise, but not told well, basically.
yeah, it's not told well, but it's like the story makes sense. It doesn't have like any major plot holes, and unlike many other Fire Emblem games, FE6 hinges the least on magic plot devices. You really don't have any aside from the legendary weapons, and even then, that's only for like the last 2 or 3 chapters.
And you can pretty much beat the game without them, too.
Yeah, like, there's really, like, aside from that stuff, there's really no magic or plot devices involved with the story at all.
Unless you count dragons, but even then, they only show up at, like, the very end, too, so...
I mean, you could just replace dragons with, like, attack dogs or some shit, and it would still work.
The scouring when the legendary attack dogs came. Bark, bark.
Yeah, they're just, like, mutated dogs that became big.
I'm never seeing that story the same way again. Thanks, Mark.
So yeah, like, when I play other Fire Emblem games, I tend to compare them to FE6, and generally what I find is that FE8 has a better story, but it's way too fucking easy, and some of the maps are just, like, bait-and-switch nonsense. FE9 is slow as shit, but it has a great story. It's slow as shit, but it has a great story. FE10 I haven't really played through. FE11, I enjoy it, but I acknowledge that it has a lot of flaws. FE12 I love FE3 and FE12. I have such a fucking soft spot for FE3 Book 2 and FE12. I love Awakening, but I acknowledge the story is not that great and the gameplay is kind of meh. I feel like Awakening is very middling in a lot of regards.
You know, I can
like
accept that. Personally, I do feel like I'm willing to give it a bit of leeway on that, though, because like I do consider like the circumstances it was made under, and it was trying to celebrate like the entirety of the Fire Emblem series. So like, to some degree, I sort of understand why it would turn out the way it did. They were trying to cover a lot of stuff with only so much time.
I only care about the end results.
Oh yeah, no, I totally get that. But I'm entirely with you there. I'm just saying, like, personally, I'm willing to give it myself like a bit of leeway for looking at it like that. I can sort of see why it happened. It's still an issue with the game.
So, yeah. Then there's FE Fates, which I hate. Even with Conquest, I hate the game. Like, it's just not enjoyable to play, even though I acknowledge the gameplay is sound.
Oh yeah, no, oh man, I wasn't kidding when I said I could go on a rant about Fates for like 3 hours. Oh man, I'm just gonna say, if you want that, you're gonna have to ask me about it like one-on-one or at one of my streams, because I don't want to take up the rest of the podcast.
Yeah, fair enough. I like everything about Fire Emblem Echoes except for the Celica fuck-up and the level design. And even then, I've started to warm up to Echoes more over time, which is odd because I've always had a hate boner for Gaiden. And Three Houses I'm indifferent to. FE5. I really like FE5 in concept, and I feel like if I play it again, I might like it more, but I hate a lot of the mechanics. I hate how cheap it is in a lot of areas, and
oh man, don't you love those warp tiles that basically put you in the insta-death room?
Yeah, fuck that shit. FE4 I can't stomach, though I acknowledge the story is very interesting. FE3 I like. FE2, I actually got really far in that game, but then I stopped at the point where Celica right before Celica gets captured, which in the original game, her reason for getting captured makes a lot more fucking sense. Basically, in order to save Alm, because Alm's trapped in this mountain area and just getting attacked relentlessly by dragons, she agrees to go with Jeddah. That makes a lot more sense, and it makes Celica look more competent as a result. How the fuck did they mess that up in the remake?
I don't know. I think to be fair, there wasn't a ton to work with, like, off of Gaiden. You gotta consider how much of an upgrade it was. They did add quite a lot, as far as, like, a remake goes. So I can understand why there would be parts that were added that aren't entirely loved.
Well, here's the thing. Like, okay, I get why they from a gameplay standpoint, I understand why they made Celica do that dumb shit in Echoes where she just agrees to go with Jeddah for no reason. They basically didn't want to put the player through that whole get attacked by dragons every single turn on the overworld map. That shit was fucking cancer. But here's the thing. What they could have done instead is just made it so that Gets attacked once by the dragons. Then on the overworld map, you see more dragons, and says, "Oh, I'm stuck. I can't do anything," and more dragons are coming. And then instead of making the dragons actually come to him, you just have his area install until Selka agrees to go with Jeddah to save Like, they could have just fucking done that to solve both problems.
Round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. He did it. He fixed it.
Yeah. And then there's FE1, which, I mean, I never played through, so it doesn't matter. Anyway, that's my opinion on all the Fire Emblem games. I'm fucking hogging this shit.
Oh, no, by all means, I get it. Like I said, I'm heavily restraining myself right now. People may think I'm joking about Fates. I am not. I've done it before.
And I'm someone that doesn't have that many opinions on most Fire Emblem games because I haven't played most of them.
You know what? That's good. Keep it that way. Even the Fire Emblem fans don't like Fire Emblem.
I'm very curious about Fire Emblem 12, though.
Oh. It's a remake of Fire Emblem 3 Book 2. And
yeah. I know that much.
I mean...
I just know that it's also apparently really liked, even though it never came out over here.
I really like what they did with the gameplay. I don't like the changes they made to the story, though. I feel like the original
You cut out immediately what you said that you liked. Could you try that again?
I like what they did with the gameplay. They actually fixed a couple maps that I didn't like in FE3 Book 2. What I don't like is the changes to the story they made. I don't like the My Unit stuff, and I don't like how you can save everybody. The whole point of FE3 Book 2 is that not everybody could be saved. Not everybody could be redeemed. Like, sometimes idealism fails. And that message completely flew over the heads of whoever the fuck was writing that game.
You know, I can definitely see that, yeah.
Yeah. So, next subject.
I have no idea how long that last subject took.
I don't know, but...
Look, man, I could keep it going if you want, but I've decided to spare the viewers or listeners. This is a podcast.
I mean, we are already like an hour in, so probably for the best.
Yeah. So let's see. Plans for the future, why Fire Emblem... I think we can exclude the Fire Emblem hacks failing subject for now. That could probably be for another meeting.
Yeah.
I basically explained why I've become disillusioned with Fire Emblem. I guess all I'll say on that matter is just... I look to Fire Emblem hacks and Fire Emblem fan games, or just like games made in SRPGs, or games similar to Fire Emblem being made. So basically, I just want somebody to make Fire Emblem that isn't Nintendo, because I feel like they're going to give the series, or a not Fire Emblem adjacent or whatever.
They're going to try and push it a little harder.
I feel like they're going to make an SRPG that's more in line with what I want from Fire Emblem. That's basically what it looks down to. I see the Fire Emblem hacking community, well, not so much anymore, but I see them as the future, and I see the SRPG studio community as the future of Fire Emblem as we like it.
I mean, that's fair. I can definitely, I can see why you'd say that. I mean, I've looked through a bit of SRPG Maker myself. I'm nowhere near talented enough in terms of, like, actually, it's a combination of that and just not having the time, really. But from what I saw, there are some impressive tools. So, like, Marky Joe isn't kidding. Go check that stuff out for all of you who are, like, into developing games and stuff.
Yeah, somebody just made fucking Minesweeper in SRPG Studio for my contest called Don't Make Fire Emblem.
I mean, I'm not totally familiar with the tools, so I don't actually have much context for how impressive that is. I just know that it's a very good program.
Well, just imagine someone making Minesweeper in Fire Emblem.
Yeah, I mean, they fucking did it, so there you go. It's been done. So yeah, that's how I look at Fire Emblem nowadays. So here comes the last subject: our plans for the future.
I mean, that's
Marky
kind of
Joe,
a
do you
tough
want
one.
to hog this one real quick and say what your plans for the future are?
I'd rather save mine for last.
Entirely fair. Well, I guess I can go first if that's what you guys want.
Go ahead, sure.
At this point, I kind of consider myself more like a variety streamer. I try not to attach myself too heavily to Fire Emblem because, that's going to get fatiguing eventually if that's all I do. So, I've honestly been jumping between games a lot. I'm doing a randomized playthrough of Fire Emblem Fates right now. It's really great. I was lucky enough to get Elise turned into Camilla, so that's just all kinds of Mimi. Yeah, it's pretty great. We've also got Beruka as Odin, so, you know, you got the emotionless one spouting on about aching blood, so that's fantastic. But aside from Fire Emblem, I do Pokemon stuff. Like, I'm actually doing a playthrough of what's called Pokemon Infinite Fusion right now, which is really cool. Basically, for those of you who are into Pokemon, like, you know, there's, like, fan art of, like, people fusing Pokemon together. Well, a bunch of people decided to take that and make a game out of it. So what you can do is you can basically take one Pokemon, take another, and sort of squish them together in a way that combines the stats of them, where, like, the body will give more of its physical stats, and the head will give more of the special stats. And you can also, like, pick their abilities, and you can make some really cool combinations. And what impresses me most of all is that there are something like over 100,000 combinations you can make, and a lot of them actually have custom art as well. So, like, it's a really impressive thing. Like, go check it out sometime, guys. Seriously. Like, even if you're not going to play it, it's really impressive. Because, like, it's not even a ROM hack. It's, like, all custom made. It's really good.
It kind of sounds like SMT.
Yeah, honestly, in a weird way, kind of. But I would say, like, the fusions you make are actually, like, more predictable than SMT. There's honestly a surprising amount of thought that can go into, like, what you're going to make. It's pretty cool. Obviously, Game Freak's never going to do anything as cool, but it is what it is. Aside from that, I was doing a playthrough of Halo recently. It's kind of a thing where if enough people in the community want it, I'll probably do it. I'm just happy to be with my community.
Yeah, that does seem like something you would do. Just, like, go with the flow with your community. Like, if they recommend a game to you, you'd be like, ah, fuck it, sure.
I'll take a look. As long as it's not like $150, sure, why not?
Yeah, well, this one's at the price of free.
Oh, I'll definitely check that one out. Let's go.
I don't see why not. It might cost me time, though.
Well, yeah, but, like, that's time well spent. I'm with my community. Like, I love my community. Why wouldn't I want to do that? Even when I'm not
Fair
streaming, half the time I'm just hanging out on my Discord.
So, Doujin, what are your
Yes.
plans?
Alright, so currently I'm working on a script for a video about the Sega Genesis Echo the Dolphin games. They're very creative and unique games that I really do not like at all. But
Well,
I
that
think
changed tone really fast.
I think they're interesting to look at the very least. In the video, I'll also be touching on the idea of the self-identifying thought that we call the ego, and also a bit on the concept of ego death for not much reason other than I like to have fun with scripts that I write. And another video that I plan on doing is called "This Anime Ended the Patriarchy."
Well,
which
that's some
is
good
about-
clickbait right there.
It is accurate.
I mean, make sure to add
Technically.
some arrows and stuff, because you got gold right there.
Dude, I just remembered the thumbnail, too. That is fucking hilarious.
It is absolutely batshit, the thumbnail, at least to me. And
I think if
go ahead.
there's any video of yours that's going to be a hit, I think that one might be.
It's a video about one of the most baffling things I've ever watched, and I also kind of shoehorn in David Lynch for fun as well. And another project is about a very niche but also very beloved anime movie from the 80s that I also do not like. I have a very complicated relationship with that movie, and the video will be called Gay Anime Cats, Stockholm Syndrome, and Trains. I have plenty more ideas and stuff. Eventually, they will come out. I don't really upload that often.
I mean, that's fair.
And-
Like, I saw your videos, man. Like, there's a lot of editing in those. I'm not surprised that it takes a while to make those. Like, go check them out. They're really good.
That and also just motivation is a bitch.
Oh, yeah. Tell me about
Well,
it.
when you're
man.
editing, no, really?
Well, I'm
Well-
paying someone to edit for me, so at least I don't gotta do that.
Well, okay, well, there you
Yeah.
go. That helps.
He still has to write up a script, and that could be really hard too. Sometimes what I do with my videos is I'll start writing a script, and then I'll just be like, I'll just record myself speaking and do a couple takes, and that's good.
I cannot do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
I
a
have to
reason
have
all my
everything
content is just
scripted.
off the cuff. I wouldn't be able to survive that.
I have to have everything scripted. I don't like just talking like that.
Yeah, fair enough. What I typically do is I'll record a couple takes of me expressing my thoughts, and I'll splice together the best parts and eventually have a completed quote-unquote script for the video. And sometimes I'll write a full script, but other times I just can't get it down on paper for some reason. So what are my plans?
You got that contest going on.
What? Oh yeah, the contest. And well, I have some other stuff, but I'm gonna keep quiet about it.
Oh, fancy.
Yeah, but basically, don't expect me to upload very often. I'm actually thinking of like making this what I do from now on, just like doing some fucking podcast, because it doesn't require a whole lot of work to do this. This is simple enough, you know.
I mean,
Until
hey,
you
I
get to
had
the
fun.
audio editing, possibly.
Yeah, that's like the worst of it. That's not that bad though. So I just upload that. I bring a couple like other content creators on board so I can help them get recognized, and yeah, like I don't want to do Let's Plays very much anymore. And some of the videos I'm doing that are Let's Plays, I'm doing mostly out of obligation to, because that was what I promised I would do with them. But I want to do scripted content like DoujinShinji if I start doing YouTube videos again. Well, I've done it before. I have quite a few videos that are scripted, analyzing Fire Emblem balance, how should you design levels in Fire Emblem, and I also did scripted content for some of the Rage Fest submissions. Remembering Akania, if you translate this, please fuck yourself. The second part of Wheel of Misfortune, I believe. And I think I've done a couple other scripted content, and I feel like they're usually well received, like whenever I do that shit. And I'm very happy with how those videos turned out. Oh, okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you can't hear LunarisParadox, it's
He's dead.
because yeah, it's because he's run out of disk space and he can't record any further. So, that's a perfect note to end this podcast on, huh?
Perfect timing.
Well, oh man. So, I'm Markajo. That was LunarisParadox, and
This is DoujinShinji.
signing out.
DoujinShinji, DoujinShinji, whatever.